Hello everyone, my name is Shai, and today I am reacting to, I guess you can say, a very important song. And I'm especially releasing it on today, mainly because it is also an important day here in Korea. First and foremost, as you can tell by the title, I'm reacting to M.O.N.T. The title translates to literally 대한민국만세. If you were to put it in English, basically 대한민국 is Korea. Manse, I guess the equivalent is like let's go or hooray. I would more associate manse with like hooray. So basically, hooray Korea. Now, this is a very important song, especially for today. The reason why I'm releasing this reaction today is because today is August 15th. It is also the official Independence Day or Liberation Day of Korea. It is the day when Korea was finally liberated from Japan. So I found it very interesting that M.O.N.T released this song and the fact that they're the first idol group to do it on Dokdo. I will talk about why it's important that M.O.N.T did this on Dokdo and why it could be seen as controversial in a little bit. I'll definitely get into the historical aspects of everything that I have pretty much studied in like a couple years ago. So because like this is very fascinating to me in terms of its historical importance, and you know, with things going on today, it's very interesting that they released this. So, and also this is separate from their second album, so this is they wrote this on their own too, so I'll also read lyrics as well. But I'm gonna get straight into this. I'm talking too much. So without further ado, this is M.O.N.T with 대한민국만세, or Hooray Korea is what I'm calling it. So here we go. It's been 74 years. 74 years since liberation. Oh my god, what those dancers are wearing. Whoa. Whoa. No. if you don't know this, this is basically Arirang, the song. It's very famous in Korea, and it's basically the unofficial anthem of Korea. Like, everybody knows Arirang. Oh my god, dude, I have serious goosebumps right now. I have serious goosebumps. Like, what blows my mind the most is what the dancers were wearing. The reason why that's important is because those who fought for liberation, those who fought for... I'm getting emotional. I don't know why, but I'm getting emotional. Those who fought for independence, those who fought for liberation, they're just regular people. They basically wore what the dancers were wearing, you know. Essentially, they're just regular people fighting for their country, fighting for, you know, to get back their homeland. And, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm getting so emotional. Oh god, I don't know, it's just like hearing Arirang after this, and like, since I know the history of everything, this just like, I don't know, it just brings up so much emotion, because I can just feel just like, I guess the national pride, you can hear in this. A lot of K-nets are praising M.O.N.T too, because they're calling them the patriotic idols, because, you know, there hasn't been an idol like this in a long time. So first, before I get into all the historical stuff, I'm going to go into the lyrics. Luckily, they provided the lyrics in English in the description, so I'm going to actually read it out. So first, title, 대한민국만세. So what I'm calling it is Hooray Korea. So let's see. Freedom and right that was stepped on by them. We don't even hope for mercy. All we want is one thing, Korean liberty. If you press and choke my neck, I will shout Korean liberty. For freedom we come together as one. We are. For each other we become strength for one another, and another we are. In the sky, the Korean flag raised up high. We shout Korean without pause. There's no one that can stop us. We raise the Korean flag up as we say "만세." Neither pressed down or snapped, afraid, never, we will step down. Firing up spirits of fellow allies, resisting with all strength and skill to overcome. I will never lose again, I must overcome this. Raise up your cups for the expected liberty, with salute to our country, Korean resistance 만세, Korean restoration 만세, Korean success 만세, Korean liberation 만세, Korean nation 만세. Just like if one does not care about their own body and home, there is no one to care for you. If one's own nation's people does not save their country and people, no one... If one's own nation's people does not save their country and people, no one will help. That's called responsibility of the owners. You must carve these words in you. So even the smallest part, you are assigned to work hard with all you've got. That is called loving your country. There's no one that can stop us to raise a Korean flag up high as we say "만세." Neither pressed down or snapped, afraid, never we will slip down. Firing up spirits of fellow allies, resisting with all strength and skill to overcome. I will never lose again. I must overcome this. Okay, and then it goes into the chorus, and yeah, that's basically it. You know, raise up you cups for the expected liberty with salute to our country. Korean resistance 만세, Korean restoration 만세, Korean success 만세, Korean liberation 만세, Korean nation 만세. Raise up your cups for the expected liberty, we salute to our country, Korean resistance 만세, Korean restoration 만세, Korean success 만세, liberation, you know, etc. First of all, wow. Just wow. Like I said, this is a powerful, powerful, powerful song. Just reading that line, one that got me the most is Korean restoration 만세. You know, like, especially with today's climate. I'm gonna have to get into a lot of politics talk, from what I understand as a citizen and from someone who's been studying, you know, all this. I don't claim to know, so first of all, disclaimer, I don't claim to be an expert on anything. I don't claim anything. This is just me as a student who studied a lot of history, someone who's been interested in Korea since I studied there 2 years ago and have learned a lot about Korean history. So, first and foremost, the importance of dokdo. I think it's better to start there to understand why I think this is going to eventually be controversial. Controversial in the sense of they might not be able to perform somewhere, or there might be some sentiment against them. So essentially, Dokdo is an island, as you can see by the, you know, the aerial shots. That's what I call it. The aerial shots. It's a small island. it's actually, I believe, an island between both Korea and Japan. So this is where the controversy stuff comes in. Japan and Korea have been disputed on Dokdo for maybe hundreds, even thousands of years now. You know, Japan claims it's theirs, Korea claims it's theirs. So the fact that M.O.N.T is performing a song called 대한민국만세, like a song called 대한민국만세, you know, waving Korean flags on Dokdo Island, it could maybe, if depending on their fans in Japan, because I know there's still a lot of anti-Korean sentiments in Japan, as well as a lot of anti-Japanese sentiment here in Korea. You know, recently there was a call for boycotting anything Japanese, like any Japanese restaurants, any Japanese-made companies, all that, because Japan recently, I believe, one part of it is that they removed them from their white list. The white list is basically people that they're willing to trade with and free trade, basically. And the fact that they're off their white list means that Japan and Korea can't really trade without issue. I'm not too keen on like the aspects of everything, but that's, I know, part of it. Another part of it is, if you don't know, the reason why Liberation Day is important. Back in 1910, Japan took full control of the Korean peninsula. They pretty much took over, but you know, it wasn't an overnight thing. It was something that happened over decades. It started with, I think in the 1800s, there was a treaty that happened. There was, what was it? I know there was the Also 5. This is what I learned. There's the Also 5. They are 5 Korean traders who basically had the power to hand over Korea to Japan. So they basically signed this treaty called the Korean-Japan Treaty, but essentially gave Japan more power, essentially, to slowly take over Korea. I think that was 1905 though. It's called the Also Treaty. There's the actual signing place is actually still in Seoul. You can actually visit it. You can see the Also 5 and the I think General Ito Hirobumi, I believe his name was a big part of it too. So those 5 plus the Japanese that they were working with basically started a slow roll of Japan slowly taking over Korea. So again, 1910 was officially the day that Japan fully took over. And that's when it pretty much got worse from there. I don't know if a lot of you have heard, but there is a movement called the March 1st movement. Basically started by a bunch of students, and I believe mostly students. A famous person was, I believe her name was Gwangsu. Hold on, let me look. March 1st movements. This was in 1919, so this is about 9 years. 9 years after Japan took over. So you know, it's just basically been 9 years of living under you know, Japanese rule. This was. It's also known as, okay, I don't know where to start because, ironically, this March 1st is also known as Samil movement, or ironically, Manse demonstrations. So March 1st was widespread all over Korea. You know, everybody was, you know, fighting for, you know, to try to get out of the Japanese rule. So yeah. Oh yeah. This was started because Emperor Gojong, he was pretty much the last emperor of Korea. He died January 21st, and there was a lot of suspicion that he was poisoned, and you know, because you know how tense it was then. So one of the most famous leaders was a young girl. I'm trying to figure out her name. I believe it was Gwangsu. She was a young, maybe 19 years old. No, not 19. She was 16 maybe. She was very young, you know, just a student yeah, Yu Guangsun. Yu Guangsun. She was very famous. She was a very, she was an organizer. She was only 18 when she died in the prison, but, so yeah. Sorry, I'm going all over the place, mainly because it's, like, important to know little tidbits of, like, why this day is important. So Yu Guangsu, she's one of the, I guess, most interesting, most famous, I guess you can say, not famous, but, like, she's one of the more interesting, not more interesting, I don't know, she's one of the most bravest souls that I've had the pleasure of learning about, basically. So she was one of the movements. So the March 1st movement was started because there was recent suspicions about Emperor Gojoseon's death. So essentially, it finally got suppressed violently by the Japanese, from what I read. So I'm trying to not be biased because of how I studied everything. But essentially, it was pretty much violent, even though it was pretty much a peaceful demonstration by the Korean people. Okay, so yes, so from 1910 to 1945, Japan had complete control over Korea. So long story short, you know, there's the issue of the comfort women. You know, women were forced to essentially sexually pleasure Japanese men. They were forced. They're called comfort women. They were young women, they were older women, basically any woman who isn't like a child, you know? I think like the youngest might have been maybe 9. I don't know. The numbers are hard to count because there was so many of them, unfortunately. So that's a huge issue. Japan has never apologized for it. Rumor has it that, or from what I've heard, Japan might be waiting for the last comfort women to possibly die so that there is no more living evidence. So that's why there's things like M.O.N.T. If you know about M.O.N.T, M.O.N.T's a brand, I believe, that supports comfort women. So you might have seen some of your idols wear like their bracelets or like have some of their like I think clothing. I think they do clothing, maybe bags, just like little jewelry. Basically, that helps comfort women. Get the story out there. What else is there? Japan. I don't know. Basically, it's just a whole convoluted thousands of years of just messed up BS between Japan and Korea. A lot of atrocities obviously happened between 1910 and 1945. A lot of Koreans pretty much lost their lives trying to protect their country. An important bit, I don't know when this was, but during Japan's control of Korea, they tried to erase the Korean language and pretty much the Korean culture. They had this like law essentially that forced Koreans to not speak Korean, not write in Korean, not have Korean names. They're forced to learn Japanese, forced to speak Japanese, forced to have Japanese names, lest they, get in trouble and, things happen. So that was a big part of that too. So there are I believe, some Koreans that lived in Japan around the end of World War II that kept their Korean or their Japanese names, because they lived in fear that if they returned to their Korean, names, the Japanese might not like it, and they've probably built a life in Japan. So yeah, that's pretty much essentially why it's important this song is out, and why it's more or less maybe controversial that M.O.N.T not only filmed this on Dokdo, but basically singing and waving Korean flags. Singing about the pride of Korea, singing about liberation, basically. So I guess you can say in a sense, depending on how the Japanese fans will see it, because even amongst the youth, I've noticed this. Whenever we talk about certain things in my classes, for some reason sometimes Dokdo comes up, and my students are always like, Dokdo is Korea's land. So that sentiment still transcends to the youth today. So I'm wondering how the youth in Japan will perceive this, especially if they're fans of M.O.N.T, because I know M.O.N.T has a lot of global fans. So, like I said, I know this is very long, very like a historical kind of talk, but personally for me, I am interested in this kind of stuff, interested to see where these things go, especially now with tensions starting to heighten between Japan and Korea. Like, like I said, Japan removed Korea from their whitelist, and that's huge. So they're starting to do a lot of boycotting here in Korea. Like, I've seen signs that says no with the O like colored in like the Japanese like rising sun flag. So it's basically saying like no Japan, like boycott Japan. Like, I even saw a restaurant here, unfortunately called Tokyo Steak. And I've been there. I really love the food, I do believe it is inspired by Japanese food. Like, there are actually several Japanese restaurants here in like, I guess Japanese food restaurants, but they're they're run by Koreans. However, like I said, Tokyo Steak had to put out a sign talking like that said, I can't read Korean perfectly, but I know it's talking about the boycott and saying like they're no way associated with probably Japan, like they're Korean based company or something like that. I don't know. So it's definitely going to be affecting a lot of things here in Korea. Like I said, the sentiment is still there. Like, a lot of anti-Japanese sentiment is still here. Whether not really as blatant as before, but it's still there. Obviously, Dokdo is still something that is fresh down to the youth. Like I said, my students, like, I've seen them write, like, Dokdo is Korea's land. And they've told me, like, whenever we talk about, I don't remember what we were exactly talking about, but I think we were talking about, like, natural environments or something, and Dokdo, and they were reminded of Dokdo because I mentioned island or something. And they're like, Dokdo is Korea's island. It's Korea's. So it's just very interesting for me, the fact that they filmed on Dokdo. Not only are they the first idols to film on Dokdo, but they sing a song about Korea, waving Korean flags on a very disputed piece of land. So, I don't know, I'm kind of amazed at their bravery, and I literally got goosebumps because, this is something that Koreans hold near and dear. Like, what I love about Korea is their national pride. It's like how much pride they have in Korea. Like, the lyrics, even the smallest of things you can do for your country is helping your country, Like, I know, oh my gosh, this is getting long, but I know, like, back in the day, when that proclamation came out, like, they cannot speak Korean, they cannot have Korean names, they cannot write Korean. There are people who secretly wrote Korean, secretly spoke in Korean, secretly had their identities on lock, so that whenever Japan left, that they could come back to their land, come back to what is familiar to them. So, yeah, I know I talked a lot, especially about the historic kind of stuff, but like I said, this is very interesting, when you break it down. If you know about the issue about Dokdo, you know how important it is that M.O.N.T sang a song about Korean liberation on freaking Dokdo. Like, it is, one, brave as all hell, and two, actually no, not even two, just one, it's brave as all hell. Very proud of M.O.N.T. I heard that they wrote this, so I'm very proud of M.O.N.T. It's amazing that they even got permission to film on Dokdo. It must have been hard to be able to get permission to film on Dokdo. Dokdo actually is an island you can actually go to and just explore. Obviously, Japanese and Koreans do go there, obviously, and I think one side is Korean, one side is Japanese, I think for now. But also, another rumor about Dokdo, rumor has it that there is a document from the Joseon era, Joseon dynasty, I do believe, that shows that Japan did claim Dokdo as Korea's, but Japan refuses to see it, Japan refuses to believe it, so that's why it's still kind of disputed. So there is a huge debate over this island, and I think I know a lot of Koreans do want North and South to get back together. However, there's a lot of obstacles in the way. I think one of them is mainly Japan. I'm not gonna get into that. I'm just just thinking about this song, thinking about how, you know, when we think about it, you know, 1945, or well, the Korean War actually was probably the last time, before the Korean War was the last time the two Koreas were together. You know, it's been years. So I'm just gonna wrap it all up with, you know, very interesting song, very interesting choice of setting, very brave of them. Honestly, I don't know why, I just felt emotional just after watching it, and you know, I just kind of felt that really nationalistic pride that a lot of Koreans still seem to have. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. Hopefully you enjoyed that little mini historical lecture. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's very interesting to look up into. Korea's history is very interesting is all I can say. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction, enjoyed that little history lesson, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.